Hi, this is Kelly from Crafty Kellys at www.craftykelly.co.uk, and today I'm doing a project based around relative history paper pack. So I've been sent some of these paper packs, and I'm gonna make some cards and maybe some scrapbook pages over the next however long. So let's go through the paper pack and see what I've got in it. So this is a company called Relative History. They're a fairly new company, but they are growing fast with their paper crafts. They specialise in kind of like historical imagery. So to keep your like historical scrapbooking and kind of that kind of historical thing through their paper packs, and they're really pretty and really good quality cardstock. So we just look through and have a flick through. So some of their pages are already made up, so all I have to do is cut round, place my photos, and maybe write something in there. See, these are some really, that's lovely. So I could do quite a bit with that one, like adding my own like family records of, say, Theo's birth, which is my son if you don't already know. And so that's a family chart. I like this one. This is brilliant. This is really nice. Yeah. Add all your family on. And these lovely little cards, so for me as a card maker, are fantastic because they're really lovely elements I can put into and onto my cards. So we're going to use some of those and another page. So I really love this kind of textured imagery, so it's like photographed, some of these like the hessian kind of look, which is really nice. So let's make a card. So I've chopped them down, and I'm going to use these two, I think, for two cards I'm going to do for you today. I'm just going to go through the ones that I've cut down. So I said about the hessian, which is really lovely. Now these would make perfect card toppers. The same sentiment in there, sentiment or image, you can stamp straight onto this because we're going to do stamping straight onto the card. Then also these ones are ones that I think that I would keep for my journaling or for my scrapbook pages. I'll pop those ones over to one side. A couple of other bits that I'm just using. So this is Lynda Chapman's black cardstock. Very awesome cardstock, which I love. I've just cut it down so I've got a nice matte layer. And then I've got these card bases. They've been in my stash for a while. They're not as thick as I'd like them. That's why I'm happy to double up on the cardstock to make sure that it gives it a bit more rigidity. But these are from the works, so they weren't expensive. They were inexpensive ones. So a couple of things I'm going to bring in aside from some cardstock and some bases is I'm going to be using some stamps from Stampin Up. Let It Ride. I love this stamp set. I've not used it enough, so we're going to be using that. I'm going to bring in a couple of colours. I'm not sure if I go black or if I go brown, I think. So I think I'm going to stamp my image in StazOn, and then I might do my sentiment on another piece of cardstock, which I'm going to have to kind of grunge up to kind of match it. But that's fine. We can work with that. So I'm using the Stampin Up Stamparatus tool. I like this tool because it's got a hinge system, so if I was doing image multiple times down, it makes it really easy to do so because you don't have to line up anymore. These magnets are super strong, so if you've got one of these, just try not to let them hit together because it's quite difficult to get them apart. So I need this over here. So I'm going to hold my cardstock down because I really don't want it to move, because I've got one sheet of this. So if it goes wrong, I don't think that will be good for me. So I'm looking at the image. I'm not fussed about getting the grass in, or maybe I am, because I want my image here, and then I'm going to bring a sentiment here. So I've just closed the plate to pick up the stamp. open it up. So StazOn is a permanent ink, so it should dry pretty instantly once we've applied it. You can use water based inks, but I've not used this cardstock before, so I'm going for this StazOn. The nice thing about using a stamping platform, and there are many out there, is once you've secured your cardstock down, your stamp's not going to move and you can go back in as many times as you want. I could layer another colour on top of it, you know, it's just, it kind of, those oopsie moments with a block, because I wouldn't have been able to do this with a block. I'd have had one chance and one chance only. Makes such a difference. There we go, I'm happy with that. So I've got my horse. My horse is lovely, liking that. Put you to one side. Now, do I go sentiment straight on? No, I need to put sentiment onto a bit of card. So I'm going to pull in some white cardstock. Sorry for the head. That should be, yeah, perfect. So I'm going to chop this down so it doesn't really matter where it goes. And know me, I'm probably stamping it upside down. So back in with the black. I think I need to re-ink my StazOn. I feel like I'm always re-inking that thing. I do use a lot of StazOn though, to be fair. Once more, the scripture in this stamp set is lovely. It's that kind of like scrawly handwriting with a dodgy pen. I really like it. Okay, happy with that. So I've got an array of punches which I like to use. Some from Stampin' Up, some from other places. This one is from Stampin' Up. It's one of their label punches. I'm gonna punch out some black in full, and then what we're gonna do is this one, because we're gonna layer it on top. I'm only cutting out the sliver, so I'll try and make sure that it's lined up properly, straight-ish. Okay, so that one's obviously a little bit skinnier. And then that can layer up on top like that. So we've got this nice little black border. The sentiment's a little bit too long for me to trim down the edges, but that's fine. I'm happy with that. So now we need to grunge it up. I'm just going to bring in a mat, so I don't want to get it everywhere. So there's a couple of colours you can use for this, or techniques. So you can use sponge daubers. Rare earth dusting brushes are probably one of my favourite. I go straight in, and then I use the lid as a palette to kind of brush off, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it and dust it. And you can see how easy that kind of just gives that, or how quickly, sorry, that gives it like an aged effect. It's that cardstock. So look, I've already started to match it pretty well. So I'm just going to pick up a bit more and make these edges a bit darker. So I used a couple of different techniques. I do a swirly to kind of brush across the whole thing, and then I'm almost doing like a tappy tap. My Kellyism, sorry. Right, I'm happy with that. That is how I want it to be. And let's just bring in, so I've got Sticks to tape runner. I'm gonna pop this onto our black mat. Ooh. And trying to get it straight. Okay, so I'm going to get some foam pads. What ones I grab first? So picked up some dimensionals. So Stampin' Up do these dimensionals. Also Create and Craft have their own version, which I use. Sticks 2 have a version which are really good. So you can get foam pads most places. If you are a card maker that makes quite often, don't buy the cheap ones from the pound shop, because they don't have a lot of depth to them, and they don't last as well. Okay, so I've just raised that up to give it a bit of dimension, which is nice. You're going to end up about there, but I think it needs something else, so I'm going to bring in some twine or something. Okay, so I'm going to bring, this is quite a thick twine that I'm bringing in, and this is some burlap. So I'm going to take a sliver of my burlap. Where are my scissors? My craftsman's in a bit of a muddle at the moment because I'm moving stuff around, and I can't quite find everything just yet. So I've decided I'm going to do a bit here, so let me just get some tape. I've got tons of it there. I'm just going to get some double-sided tape to secure this to the back of the mat. The beauty of using double-sided tape to secure things like this is well, it's holding it in between, and then you can take that off and still attach it to your card, no problems. Whoop. Okay. Okay, so I want to attach this to the back, but I think I'm going to raise that up. So just one on either end. Okay, and then I think we use a bit of double-sided tape on this. Okay, so now we've attached that, so I'm just going to use a glue dot because I don't want that bit of ribbon sticking up, sorry, that bit of twine sticking up. So I've just folded it in two, hiding it under the twine to kind of hold it down in place. Lovely, like it, like it, like it. Okay, so I'm just going to use my Sticks 2 tape runner just to adhere this down. I'm going to remove that double-sided tape back. Sticks 2 really kindly sent me a few bits, and I got this pokey tool. You get 3 in a pack, and I'll tell you what, they're amazing. I love it. I love it. I think at the moment it's my favourite pokey tool. And I've got a few. Okay, so we'll try and line this up nicely. Really happy with how this card's turned out. I think it's really all come together with the inking. The stamping actually looks like it's part of that cardstock, so it just works so well together. So really happy with that. And catch me on my next video for the second card. So this has been Kelly from Crafty Kelly's at www.craftykelly.co.uk.